Mr. Dixon, you're still under oath.
Yes, my lady.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
As the court pleases, my lady. Mr. Dixon, I'm going to deal with your evidence about the sequence of the wounds and the sequence of the bullets and wound ballistics and something like that. So, did I understand you correctly yesterday when you said when she was hit in the right hip that the kinetic energy of the projectile would have moved her backwards?
I stated this morning, my lady, if I remember, that when the bullet hits the hip and the upper arm, it is transferring energy to the body, and that could cause it to go backwards because it's a push.
Yeah, we see this in movies, isn't it? Somebody is shot and they flung backwards. Is that something like that?
I do not think so, my lady.
Because it's impossible. A bullet that weighs that amount, you said how many grams? Grams?
It's a small amount of energy.
Cannot
it's
move a person
127
backwards.
grams.
Do you agree with that? Cannot move a person backwards.
My lady, I said the hip is unstable, the pelvis has been broken. We're falling, a little bit of additional energy hitting the arm can add to that instability. At no stage did I state that the blow of the impacting bullet would be sufficient to throw the person backwards.
It would make no difference, sir. The bullet at the velocity it's traveling hits somebody, it will not move that person backwards. That's something you see on TV, it's not true. Do you believe that?
I'm not a ballistic expert, I cannot comment on that.
But what I will do is, you ventured on this area, you're going home tonight to bring us lots of things. You're welcome to look for any literature that would indicate that the force of a bullet hitting somebody would move that person backwards. And if you get it, please bring it tomorrow. Is that fine?
I did state it would add to the instability. I will attempt to look for something to please the court, my lady.
Good. Now, the wounds on the back. You were not at the post-mortem.
I said so in my testimony, my lady.
Have you been to post-mortems before?
I have been to 3 post-mortems in my life, my lady.
That's all.
That is all.
The photograph that you referred us to show the bruise as... do you have the photographs in front of you?
No, my lady, I don't have...
Your photograph?
Photograph.
Your photograph that was handed in this morning?
Yes, I have these here.
The photograph where you refer to it, where one can see the bruise that, according to you, was missed by... Yes, that one. What is it? Can you identify it?
What photograph is this?
This is image IMG 0147, my lady. I don't have a JJJ number on it.
My lady, I think it should be JJ230, 2.30.
Thank you.
Now, on that particular photograph, lady, I'm embarrassed, but I'm looking for mine. Would the court just grant me a moment to look for mine?
Thank you.
My lady, I have a spare.
That would assist me greatly if I could get the spare. Now, if one looks at this photograph, one can see artifactual shadow surrounding these two wounds. Am I right or wrong? Artificial shadow. You can see the shadow on the photograph. Or what is that?
Yes,
To the
my
right of-
lady, the way the photograph was taken, some areas were less well illuminated.
Yeah. And you exclude that bruise that you see as part of this shadow, perhaps.
My lady, the area which I interpreted as being a bruise based on the photograph has a lighter rim around the edge before the dark shadow starts. So it's darker in the middle, lighter, and then dark.
What I want to do is, you know that the photographs were seen by Professor Botha. He never identified that. You weren't caught. You never heard him testify about this.
My lady, I do not know which photographs Professor Botha had access to.
He never, let us just put it differently. Professor Botha never identified this as a bruise, am I right?
I am unaware whether or not he made an identification, my lady. I cannot state anything further than that.
Did you not read his evidence?
I did read his evidence.
Did you
my
see
lady.
it in his evidence?
That he referred to that
Yes.
particular photograph?
No,
I did
to
not
the
see it.
particular bruise.
No, my lady.
Yes, good. It's not in Perimal's report, or is it? That there's a bruise there.
That is indicated in Professor Simon's report. I think it's 4.9. Nobody, to my knowledge, showed more than the two dark contusion marks.
And so it's not Simon. Simon didn't, Perimal didn't, and Botha did also not.
Yes, my lady.
And the next day it's gone. Or during the post-mortem it's not there anymore.
My lady, I had a photograph taken early in the morning of the 14th, another photograph taken the following day when the back part, there was a lot of lividity. There is a distinct difference in the photographs. I can only say what I saw in the photographs. I do not know whether Professor Botha, Professor Simon, or Dr. Perimal had access to that photograph. I do not know.
But you will agree with me. During the post-mortem, one cannot see that mark there. Am I right? The mark that you referred to as a bruise.
On the photograph taken at the post-mortem, I could not identify that mark.
So, you're not a pathologist or expert, but as far as I know, and we could perhaps later deal with that, a bruise like that will become more accentuated. It will not disappear overnight. Or do you have a different view?
My lady, I identified marks on the back, and the proximate shape and the proximate distance is similar to the first two. And I looked at that photograph, and it would appear to me that it is not just a change of light. There is something on the skin. What is going to happen to that over the next hour or 24 hours, I don't know. As the counsel for the prosecution has clearly stated, I am not a wound ballistic expert, I am not a pathologist.
But we know for a fact, and we will even show you a photograph that was taken during the post-mortem. One cannot identify that mark. You did not see that mark on the post-mortem photographs. Is
My
that
lady,
correct?
I did not see the mark on the post-mortem photographs.
Now, remember your view of the blue marks on the buttock. You weren't at the post-mortem. I've said that again, but every time I start with something new, I do it. You weren't at the post-mortem. You can only rely on photographs and a report.
That is so, my lady.
And as far as the report is concerned, what did you rely on? Where that mark is described.
My lady, I looked at the description made by Professor Simon in his post-mortem report.
Okay. There's a file in front of you. The top file in front of you. Whilst you're dealing with papers, your notes, I've never got it back. Do you have them?
I do have my notes, yes,
Yeah.
my lady.
The ones that you handed to me and I handed back to you.
Yes, my
Can
lady.
I just have them back again, please, before I forget? Can you just open that file at B? Yeah, it's that file, right? If you take that file and you open it at B, you'll see the things marked. I see you paging through the post-mortem and you found it.
What exhibit is this?
It's Exhibit B, my lady. It's the post-mortem report. You page through it, and where are you now, sir?
My lady, I'm on page 5 of 9 of the document labeled A111.
Okay. And let us just give the court an opportunity.
Yes, what page again?
Malay is 5 of 9 in the post-mortem report.
It's Exhibit B,
Exhibit B, page 5 of 9, my lady.
5.
And it's also marked in the right-hand corner with a 5, handwritten 5, my lady.
Yes, I've got it. Thank you.
And you want us to refer us to which paragraph, sir?
Paragraph 4.10.
Will you read that?
Paragraph 4.10. The medial aspect of the right buttock displays an irregular area of contusion and blue discoloration of the skin over an area measuring approximately 40 by 30 millimeters with indistinct lateral extension thereof. External palpation does not reveal the obvious presence of underlying subcutaneous foreign objects.
And based on that, you said that it could be a bruise, and she fell against the magazine rack.
Based on the photograph, plus this information, plus my reconstruction of events, magazine rack, that is how I interpret it. Yes, my lady.
Did you take anything else into account, or was that about it?
I'm not aware that there was much else available about that.
You'll be surprised.
Okay.
Keep paging in that document till you get to page 8 of 9. You look surprised. You never saw that.
What?
I just
Page
want to put
8
on
of
record,
9.
you said, what? Am I right? I want to put that on record. You opened the document and you said, what? Am I right? Mr. Dixon,
I
what
didn't
happened now?
hear myself say that, my lady, if I said it.
Okay, but we'll check the record. I heard it.
Yeah.
You opened that document, you looked at the paragraph and you said, what? But let us read it. Will you please read it? Paragraph 25, my lady.
25 pelvic walls.
Yes.
See paragraph 16 above. With extensive hematoma formation and a fracture defect involving the right pelvic bone. Deep dissection of the right gluteal region following a posterior approach reveals irregular wound tracts but yielding only small irregular shrapnel metal fragments confirmed by transillumination. Extensive deep and posterior hematoma formation is present.
There he describes it. You missed it. He describes the wound. He describes that mark and you missed it.
My lady, I interpret that as being inside the wound on dissection.
Yes. But you, Mr. Dixon, just made an inference without even reading the document that you referred to. There he described what caused that. He dissected that whole area, but you are strong enough to tell the court you know better. Why?
My lady, the external appearance and the palpation of the description given in paragraph 4.10 and paragraph 25, where it's deep dissection with the shrapnel metal fragments and hematoma, that's inside. I admit absolutely that I'm not a forensic pathologist and I'm not wound ballistics. I'm looking at marks and appearances with the evidence. I did not, from the description given here, think that if there was deep hematoma inside and it came to the outside, why would it have a very defined vertical and horizontal line? In my layman's understanding, if the bullet had broken up into many little pieces and there was extensive hematoma and so on, and it had come to the surface, it would have discolored a large area rather than being two lines that intersect.
You see, Mr. Dixon, now you call yourself a layman. You gave the evidence. You were strong about that. You see how irresponsible it is to make inferences in areas where you're not an expert. It's irresponsible. Am I right?
My lady, I was interpreting the marks that I saw.
And you interpreted to fit your case. Am I right?
My lady, I don't have a case. I have a scenario which I was recreating.
You see, the most irresponsible thing is if you refer to a document and you don't even read the full document. Why would you come to court, to the High Court, give this evidence, and you don't even read the full document? Why would you do that, Mr. Dixon?
I read that document a while ago. I was looking at the wound patterns and I referred to certain paragraphs. I did not, looking at that photograph, which came to my notice recently, I had already drawn up a sequence of events based on the evidence that I had. I looked at that photograph and the description as identified in there in the full paragraph 410 was
You see, the danger is
inconclusive.
Yeah. The danger is, Mr. Dixon, you read till you get an answer. You weren't even at the post-mortem. You read till you get an answer. And my question is, why did you not read a full document that you referred to? That's the answer. Why? That's a question, not the answer. The question is why.
I received this document last year, and I did read through it. I read through all the evidence that was, the statements that were given to me.
So you read paragraph 25. You deliberately didn't tell us about it. Is that what you're now saying? You did read paragraph 25.
I read the whole report. I read a number of reports.
You see, Mr. Dixon, how irresponsible it is to try and be an expert on an area that you're not. Do you see that?
Not in this case, no, my lady.
I see. Let us just carry on. Now, if that's not so, what is the only, if you read the report, what was the only evidence that you used to exclude tissue damage as a cause of the blue marks on the buttock. Why did you exclude tissue damage?
My lady, my understanding of a bruise is that there is tissue damage. That's why you get a bruise forming.
Yeah, but not as explained by the doctor, that it was caused by the bullet. Why did you exclude that being caused by the bullet?
As I said, my lady, because of the shape and the orientation, the broad, very well-defined contusion on the inside of the buttock, and then the laterally extending thinner line, a lighter bruise.
Let us just then deal with something else quickly, and that is, when did you go back to the scene? On which days were you at the scene, the crime scene?
I was there on the day that the bail hearing was, the verdict was given.
Why were you there?
Because, as I stated earlier, I was requested to be there.
And what did you do there?
Not very much. A lot of people came. I just had a look around to get an idea of what the whole crime scene entailed and to see what my involvement would be and so on.
And was it agreed what your involvement would be?
At that stage, it was thought that primer residue might be of importance.
Anything else?
In the beginning, my understanding is that was the specific requirement.
Okay. Did it change?
It changed with time,
To what?
my lady. To looking at the marks and what caused them and so on and so forth.
You see, I'm really surprised by you using a phrase and so on and so forth.
By that I mean, my lady, that as the investigation, as I said earlier, at a crime scene, everything's interrelated. It's one event which left a whole lot of evidence and traces and effects. You can look at some things in isolation if that's the only thing you want to look at, and you just asked specifically to look at a single thing. I was not asked specifically. As we went on, and I used my knowledge of that I gained in the police for 18 years on crime scenes. So counsel and my team asked me to become more involved. There was no clearly delimited statement that you do this and only this.
Is there any aspect that you had to investigate on your own? Just you, Mr. Dixon.
The varnish on the presence of suspected varnish on the prosthesis on the door in order to prove contact.
As I said, I'll deal with that, but can I just ask you a quick question? Did you ever analyze the varnish that you found on the prosthesis?
Yes, my lady, it was analyzed.
Did you link it with the varnish on the door?
The varnish, the material that I found on the prosthesis had the identical chemical characteristics to the varnish that I removed from the door, my lady.
This door?
This door, my lady.
When did you remove the material from this door to analyze?
My lady, I did not remove any material from this door to analyze. A piece of the wood from the door was given by the investigating officer to Mr. Vormerans last year in a sealed forensic science laboratory evidence sealing bag, and I received that from Mr. Vormerans.
And that you then analyzed the material on the prosthesis and the material on that piece of wood, and you found it what?
I find that they had the same composition, my lady.
Okay. Now we dealt with what you did on your own. Anything else that you were required to do on your own?
I was asked to work out the sequence of events, what happened, the marks on the door, etc., etc. That, the blows, specifically the cricket bat, the use of the cricket bat to break down the door and the marks that are left, the traces, and I was asked to interpret that.
Well,
I submitted.
Before I forget, the cricket bat that you used
Yes, my lady.
on the shooting range, where's that?
It is in Mr. Vormerance's possession.
So Mr. Vormerans has that cricket bat. Okay. Do you know what happened to that? The first firearm you used.
No, my lady.
Do you know what ammunition you used?
The ammunition used that night, I think there was a problem getting the black talon, the black-colored one. So if my memory is incorrect, it was Ranger ammunition, which is the same design, but it's got a copper jacket. There was a problem, my lady, with the name Black Talon and its color, and I understand that this was changed later in the production process.
So do you know that Ranger ammunition was used?
That is my understanding.
If you say it's my understanding, why are you saying it's my understanding?
No, excuse me. Yes. Because the problems... My lady, I was not tasked with sourcing ammunition. We did tests on the shooting range the night before. I know the following day when we did further tests, black talon ammunition was used when we were testing the ballistic effects, going through the wood, etc. The night before when the tests were done, as far as I know, my memory, it is shiny bullets, and they were Ranger because of the problems to get black talon, but it would have given the same effect.
You say it's your memory. Why? Who told you this? And now you can tell me.
I
You
looked.
say, I'm
My lady, the ammunition was on the table. I actually held it in my hands. But I wasn't making a conscious note of every single thing there. It was dark. There might be some photographs. Most probably are photographs taken at the time. I do not have those photographs. But I recollect discussing with Mr. Vormans. He said it was very difficult to get hold of the black talon. So for sound, the appearance going through the door wouldn't make too much effect. And my memory is that it was Ranger. However, I might be wrong.
Who took photographs on that night?
Mr. van der Westhuizen took some photographs.
Who else?
Only him that I
Of
can
what?
recall.
Of what? He took photographs of what?
Of the door and other things round. I wasn't following him looking through the viewfinder, my lady. I know he was taking photographs of the test.
Were you photographed?
I presume I was, my lady, as I was wielding the bat, but I was not paying attention to the photographer. I was concentrating on doing the tests with the bat on the door.
Have you seen photographs of that test night?
No, my lady, I have not.
Nobody showed you photographs of that test night?
No, my lady, I have not.
Not in a report, nowhere?
No, my lady.
But we know was there a video camera there or not?
There was no video camera, it was very dark.
You said that you have on your computer the results of the gunshots sounds of the first night. Am I right?
I received some files from Mr. Volmerans later. Yes, my lady.
So you still have the results of the first night shooting on your computer, Addo.
Yes, my lady.
Will you bring that for us as well, please? You were there, you heard them. Let's see if we can listen to them.
Yes, my lady.
Okay. Now, Maleta, I've indicated this morning that I'll use up as much court time as I can. And I think I did. There's a half an hour left. I think it's reasonable, my lady, to ask that we stand down till tomorrow. I will consult, read the reports that I've been given, and finalize the cross-examination. So I kindly request that we adjourn until tomorrow.
Mr. Roux,
I'm in the hands of the court, my lady.
what does that mean? What does that mean?
That I'm ducking and diving.
I thought so.
Of course, I would want to carry on, but it's difficult for me to say. It's not a genuine request that I must consider. So I'm a bit conflicted.
Thank you. We'll resume tomorrow morning at 9:30.
As the court pleases.
To adjourn.